Welcome and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the first Pharma Talk of the day. So if everybody wants to kind of shuffle in, anybody that's waiting out there that would like to come hear about compounding, welcome on in. But hi, welcome to the Pharma Talk session. My name is Darcy Vaughn. I'm a Vice President of Pharmacy Retail Operations for Health Mart.
Good morning. Lunch is now being served in the back of the exhibit hall and will be available until 1:30. Thank you.
Great, okay, we'll start again. So my name's Darcy Vaughn. I'm a Vice President of Pharmacy Retail Operations for Health Mart in the Southeast United States. And I help our sales teams and Health Mart customers get access to the McKesson solutions, resources, and tools that they need. And so for today's for Pharma Talk session, we're proud to have Medisca sponsor the first Pharma Talk session of the day. And this is my neighbor in Florida, Mark Filosi. So Mark, if you want to come up and start your talk today. So thanks so much.
All right. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you and welcome to our talk on compounding. It's great to see everybody here. So I'm sure you're here in this beautiful trade show that McKesson is hosting to find something that you can bring back home with you this year that will make your pharmacy profitable. And that's very important, right? You need to always be looking to make your pharmacy relevant. And hopefully you found something wonderful to make your pharmacy profitable. Disclaimer. And what I want you to think about is if you keep on doing what you always did, you're always going to get what you always got. Right? So if you're just doubling down on retail prescriptions, where are you making your profit? Right? So if the average profit of a pharmacy in America that's doing retail is not at least $15 gross profit per prescription, how do you keep the lights on? How do you pay your pharmacist? Right? So if you don't have that $15 threshold, and I'm looking at my pharmacies and looking at the contracts that have come in this year, and there's one PBM contract that starts with the letter E that I think I'm only making $2.50 gross profit on a prescription. And there's just no way that we can survive. So what are we finding to move forward? And remember that filling more prescriptions is not necessarily the answer to how we move forward. We have to think differently as pharmacists. So in years past, if I wanted to be more profitable, all I had to do was fill more prescriptions. And I'd go out and visit doctors that just send me more retail prescriptions, and that would be amazing. So now fast forward to today, and we're kind of cherry picking what we're doing, and we're seeing negative margins, and it's very discouraging sometimes. So to rethink the possibilities, I want you to consider compounding, right? So compounding it's not as hard as you think. And certainly with those shrinking margins and so forth, we have to find another way forward. So I want to just tease you with a fact. One of the facts about compounding is the average gross profit of a compounded prescription in the United States a year or two ago was $51. Like, how many retail prescriptions would you have to fill to get that same profitability? And remember that busy does not equal profitable. All right, so that's going to be one of the focuses I want you to think about. So what's holding people back? Because I teach non-sterile and sterile compounding for LB3 Network and Medisca for years, since 2008. And I've talked to hundreds, if not thousands, of pharmacists in that time frame. And I think there's a perception that it's just so hard to get started. How do I remove the hurdles and the barriers and get started in compounding? What would simplify it? And of course, the United States Pharmacopoeia is not making it easy for people. We've got worries and concerns. So we're concerned about USP 795 and USP 797 and an 800. But I don't want you to think of those as limitations. Those are just, the minimum standard of what we have to do. And is it possible to compound medications that do not appear on the NIOSH list of hazardous drugs for healthcare workers? And the answer is yes. There's so many niche markets that you could do that are super rich with profitability that you don't have to lean into USP 800. So you might not need to build out a negative pressure room if you kind of lean into what I call compounding for insecurities. So what are items that you could compound that there's no expectation that a third-party PBM or insurance company needs to pay for what you're doing? But you have to come up with those ideas of what would people be willing to pay for. So it could be medications for sexual dysfunction, ED medications, aesthetics, medicines for pet medications. There's just a lot there, but what if we could present you with a logical, stepwise approach to compounding? We could start with just one niche market. I have pharmacies that are extremely successful, multi-million-dollar books of business with one product. For example, low-dose naltrexone. So low-dose naltrexone is extremely hot right now. There are many pharmacies doing just so well with it, it's ridiculous. It is good for a lot of different disease states. So think about fibromyalgia, lupus, Crohn's disease, long hauler syndrome, mast cell activation syndrome. Just a lot of possibilities with your providers. And if you go to a provider and talk to them about how are you treating your patients with Crohn's disease, and what they're doing is the JAK drugs and the MAB drugs and $15,000, $20,000 medications, we have a potential solution for you with medications that might only cost your patients maybe $75 or $100. So this is the plan that I'm going to lay out for you. And I think it begins with just a really logical step, because when you speak with me as a compounding coach, and that's my current role with Medisca, I believe that we were born with 2 ears and 1 mouth on purpose, right? So you can listen twice as much as you talk. So when we first meet, I would want to know about you and your pharmacy and your community and what you're passionate about. And don't you deserve to make money? So what are the things that you could do? And I want to pull those from you, so it's going to be a needs assessment. And when I do that, we're going to be able to move on to step 2. Because you don't have to know all the answers, and that's the beautiful thing, right? So you don't have to be a 100% expert on compounding in the beginning, because the Medisca and LP3 portfolios are just so rich and so deep with compounding knowledge that you can lean on us for like the white glove concierge treatment, where we're going to walk you through the process of how you could begin your compounding pharmacy journey. And for me, the first stop for most of the clients that I communicate with would be just our basic non-sterile compounding program. Because in the beginning, you don't know what you don't know. So I'd like to expose you to all the possibilities. So when you take our primary non-sterile compounding program, you'll learn how to make all the different delivery systems in non-sterile compounding that would have great impact on your business. You'll make capsules, you'll make NovaFilm. For those of you that don't know NovaFilm, visit us at our booth next door. NovaFilm is really quite amazing. It's like a Listerine breast strip, but it's mucoadhesive. So it sticks to the mucin, which is an elusive target because mucin is always refreshing itself. So the one thing that pharmacists can do to maximize absorption is to have that medication stick to the oral mucosa. Really, the only thing a pharmacist can do is just the absorption phase if you think about ADME, because after that it's just in the human body. But I like to talk about the NovaFilm in this step, because in the beginning when you're first learning how to compound and you're up against some really big pharmacies in your community, how do you do that? Because in the beginning you're the unknown and untrusted entity, and obviously a patient and a provider, you're going to have to showcase some preferential difference of why you're different or why you're better. And if you can, maybe both of those things. So NovaFilm is just a very easy thing to compound with. It's super simple. We teach it in our primary program. And NovaFilm will definitely make you different and better. Not many people doing that. In fact, as soon as I saw NovaFilm, I thought to myself, sildenafil, tadalafil, apomorphine, L-arginine, oxytocin, and that's a hot market. That one dosage form with one unit in the United States, my clients that I've been speaking to are charging between $8.50 and $12.50 per unit. Right? So we could make a whole book of business on that if we wanted to. So we've got integrated support. We don't operate in silos at Medisca. So we've got an incredible line of bases. And our bases often come with stability studies. So if you do know a thing or two about USP 795, we want longer stability studies. And to be cautious, the pharmacopoeia has issued just short BUDs, short expiry dates. Like an emulsion, a transdermal preparation might give you 30 days. But if you lean into Medisca's bracketed studies, where we study at low concentration, we study at high concentration, you can claim everything in the middle, you might be able to capture 180 days. And then you can really get into some really cool things with how you create your workflow intelligently and how we plan for things, and maybe make stocks, concentrates, aliquots that are not finished drug products. They are components of medications that you will assemble. So the first slide also talked about the complexities of the FDA, and one of the things the FDA is concerned about is reasonable anticipatory compounding, which is just 30 days. But if you were able to stage things the way I'm talking about and make some components of medications ahead of time that are good for 180 days because of Medisca's studies, then you're going to be much more efficient. So we've got education, we've got formulation support, we've got a team of chemists and experts. So when you're a pharmacy owner, don't you wear a lot of hats, right? You have to wear your pharmacist hat, you have to wear your clinician hat, you've got to wear your CEO hat. Well, I'm telling you, if you're in a compound, you've got one more hat to wear. You've got your formulation chemist hat. But you also have partners in Montreal that it's their full-time job to help us develop formulas. In fact, we've got over 10,000 formulas in our database that are customizable. If you're thinking about standard operating procedures and master formulation records, if anybody's ever written SOPs, you know how hard they are. And that your SOPs might not be relevant if you're writing those from your ivory tower at home, and then you go to present those to the people that you work with, and like, oh, Mark, that's not how we do it. But Medisca has customized templates of all of our SOPs, which are just wonderful. It makes that job of writing those SOPs much easier. So I think slide 3 just says that you can be in business for yourself, but you don't have to be in business by yourself. You've got an incredible team to support you. And that's what I really want you to know, is that you've got just a great approach here, that if we could write you the bones of a business plan and provide you that white glove treatment to walk you across the finish line, that's really important. So one of the things that I think about is when I teach the non-sterile compounding program, for me, it's all about what happens on Monday morning. If you took that program, on Monday morning, can you go back and compound? So this is the continuum of what happens after you take that program. You go home and you know that you are supported. You've got friends in the industry that are going to walk you across the finish line. So if you were to think about, my logical approach is to think about one niche market. You don't have to be the master of all trades and the jack of none. You could start with one niche market, as evidenced by my friend who's a multimillionaire with just one niche market of LDN and maybe adding ketamine now. But as you master one niche market, get really good at it and know the clinical aspects, know the formulation aspects, and be very comfortable with that, your staff is comfortable, then we maybe grab another niche market, maybe another one. And that's how we're going to scale your business. Now, LP3 Network, our educational arm of Medisca, we also have other niche market specific programs. So if you want to learn about vet compounding, if you want to learn about derm, if you want to learn about bioidentical hormone therapy, which is also super hot. So BHRT makes up 61% of all compounds filled in the United States. The problem with BHRT for the newbie would be that that does actually lean into USB 800 because those are reproductive hazards. But we don't have to start there. That's what we aspire to, right? That's what we're going to get to, because when you earn all the money from the initial niche markets, I don't want you to go out and buy yourself a brand new Mercedes. I want you to invest that money into the future growth of your pharmacy, and that's how you would do it. That would be a logical place to go next. So if you have non-sterile, non-hazardous, that's an easy place to be and very lucrative. The next step could be non-sterile has, and then if we have really captured your attention and you've maximized your pharmacy, you've got a first shift, you've got a second shift, you've got a third shift, then we could think about getting bigger. We could think about USP 797 where you might do sterile compounding. And sterile is hard, but you know what the good thing about the hard things are? Not everybody is doing it. So that means you could capture more market share. Now, I don't suggest that somebody goes straight into non-sterile if they've never done the initial beginning parts, because that would be very hard. So there's definitely a learning curve for doing sterile, but all of these things are possible. So what we want to do is we want to not just be transactional with you. It's not about Medisca just selling you an API, an active pharmaceutical ingredient, or an excipient, or a container closure system, and great, you bought this from us, have a great day. That's not Medisca. Medisca is more about creating relationships with our clients, helping them grow, helping them be successful. You might be saying, well, why would a company invest that much effort into their clients? It's great, it's mutual benefit there, it's symbiotic. If you guys do well, we do well. So that's why we want to partner with you. So if you were to book a call with one of our Medisca experts, we would help you write the bones of a business plan to get started in all of this. Right? This is our focus this year, is to really help people to understand and break down those barriers and the hurdles to show you what is possible if you worked with us. And you're going to be able to grow together with us. And gosh, I believe in the abundance mindset, that there's enough in this industry for everybody. So what if you are starting this journey with other like-minded pharmacies also starting this journey? I think we could put you together in cohorts where there's some things that we would teach you that would be on the individual basis. There's some things that we would teach you that you might be in the presence of other pharmacies in a group. And even moving forward from that, think about this. As the CEO of my business, I've often had really good ideas, I thought, about things. And I would have loved to have bounced those ideas off of other CEOs and like-minded individuals in my industry. So we could put you together with other people in a non-competitive way, and think about this. You could be each other's board of directors in this pharmacy compounding space to help elevate the entire industry. So because Medisca is such a rich and incredibly powerful resource, it's basically a one-stop shop. It reminds me almost like the franchise that you could buy here if you want to open up just a regular retail pharmacy, because we have everything that you would need from beginning to end. Right? So I'm going to just open this up to all of you if you've got some questions. So we talked about margins, and it's part of our thought process this year to help pharmacies launch the non-sterile compounding program within their pharmacies in under 90 days. And of course, with our stability studies and our bases and our formulas, we could easily come up with a plan that you could possibly bring to market 20 different preparations. But I don't feel like you need to be that robust. I don't think anybody needs to do 20 different offerings. My idea would be to create some focus and make things easy, and then grow your business that way in a logical, stepwise approach. So questions, comments, observations? I'll entertain all. And Darcy can bring a microphone to you if you've got a question. Don't be bashful. When are we going to meet again? Well, I want to thank all of you for being here with me today. And if you would like to book a call with any of our experts, or if you'd like to stop by our booth, we're just right next door, Medisca right beside us. And we would love to showcase to you some of the things that we do and to continue this conversation further. So enjoy your morning, enjoy your last day of the show, and thank you for attending.